Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legacies, episode 405, titled I Thought You'd Be Happy to See Me, which premiered Thursday, November 11th, 2021 on the CW. It's very different, but last episode I did warn that I would be late in doing my reply for this video, as it is now November 16th, the Tuesday. I just watched the episode an hour ago. My long delay was due to the fact that I was filming my short film from the 12th to the 14th, but 11 and 15 had to deal with prep and cleanup. So now today was the first day I could finally sit down and watch it, and I'm here to discuss it. So let's start talking. But first, huge spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Huge YouTube shout out to Golden Angel 15, Antoine Gobel, and Thabang Mokiana for their comments on my 404 video. That was quite a video, right? Or not a video, I should say, quite an episode we had to deal with, and now we're jumping right into 405. Let's start with what happened in this episode. So, episode quote of I Thought You'd Be Happy to See Me was said by Rebecca Michaelson that it is this episode we have Claire Holt returning as Auntie Bex, and she said that line to Hope. I mean, we kind of figured it had to be her once we realized that she would be in the episode. So there's that. Timeline-wise, though, it is the next day after the events of 404. Huge episode reminder is the fact that this was essentially meant to be the original Season 4 premiere, if it weren't due to episode shifts due to COVID. So there's that. Featured creature of the episode, I am going to say Tribrid Hope, just because she is kind of the focus. There is no Malivore monsters. We don't really know if any of the Malivore monsters still exist now that Malivore is gone. So right now it's Tribrid Hope. So let's move into episode breakdowns or storylines. I'll go through it very briefly because I really think you should watch the episode for itself, because there are some parts that I really can't do it justice for what happens. But the first storyline deals with what happened to Alark, as the episode starts off with the bad news that Alark is in the hospital. And the second storyline is Where is Hope, which we all know they're both mutually tied to each other, but we'll get into it in a moment. So first storyline of what happened to Alark, as I said before, the episode really starts off with a deputy coming to the Salter school and search for an adult, only to find Lizzie, and he gives the news that something has happened to Alark. We find out that he is stuck in a coma after surgery due to Hope breaking his spine, but no one knows that it was Hope that put Alark in the hospital. So Josie and Lizzie turn to MG for a vampire head dive so they can go inside their father's subconscious to try to bring him out in the same way that they had done before. In doing so, they find themselves in different memories in their father's past. We go down his trip down memory lane. We see a teenage Hope when the twins were 11, so Hope should have been about 13. So we see Summer Fontana, who played Hope in Season 4 of the originals, coming back. And then we also see Emma coming back for a flashback as well, all leading to the point where they found the real Alark heading towards his memory of when his daughters were born at the hospital. I kind of wish we got to see the actual moment from the Vampire Diaries episode being put back into this, but they didn't. And with it, we find the real Lark apologizing to Lizzie about all his actions he's done in the past that made him not be the best father they thought he could have been. Josie wasn't present because she was staying by his real bedside, keeping watch over him. But we do have a bit of a goodbye, or what felt like a goodbye. We don't know if this is a true goodbye from Alark, or if he's just going to be stuck in a coma until they figure out a way out. But that is where we have left that storyline off with. And through this, the first memory that they deal with, that's when Josie and Lizzie found out that it was Hope who put Alark into a coma, and that she had turned off her humanity and she's gone full Tribrid, full Tribrid threat now, and who is not on their side. So there's that. Second storyline of Where is Hope, we have Hope chilling out in a bar, compelling the bartender. Ooh, question. Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. Bartender for a drink, compelling a girl for her blood source. And then Rebecca Michaelson finds Hope due to the medallion, the Michaelson medallion that Hope always wears. And wasn't willing to give Chiron the necklace for. We find out that it actually has a tracking spell on it. And that's how Hope was found. We find out that Rebecca ultimately, before she realizes that Hope had shut down her humanity and really wasn't really listening to anything, Rebecca tries to dagger Hope. It works temporarily, but just like with Klaus, it didn't last long, and she woke up from the dagger. So they part ways, with Hope also threatening Rebecca that if Rebecca doesn't leave her alone, then she will also threaten the rest of the Michaelson family. So look how far Hope has dropped, kind of a thing, right? So there's that. Interesting thing, though, when the way that Hope talks, like, when, like, questioning of, like, Rebecca was trying to compare, like, vampirism for a regular vampire, it isn't any different from a hybrid or a tribrid. Hope counters with, like, you don't know what I'm going through, as if, like, emotionally she was saying that instead of it, so it felt like there was still some emotion there instead of just, like, her brushing it off. So I'm wondering to what like, is she really have all of her humanity shot off? I don't know, but there's that. So anyways, back to the bartender, though. We find out he snaps Rebecca's neck and find out that he is a vampire, and that he's a vampire who's working for Triad, but it's not just the company Triad from season 1, but the original bloodlines of the witch, vampire, and werewolf that created Malivore to begin with. The 3 bloodlines created the actual Triad, and their sole goal now is to eliminate Hope. It's the one thing all 3 bloodlines agree on. So that seems to be the case. Also, bartender, Hope being able to compel the bartender, who is a vampire, kind of proved that she has the compulsion capabilities of an original vampire, because the original vampire can compel other vampires. So that was a good confirmation right there. We also saw her hybrid eyes, which are kind of not yellow like her father's, but more orangey. So that was something there. But the last scene of the episode shows Hope stating her own warning to the lady on the cell phone that was talking to the bartender, the Triad lady, that she's coming for her and to not run, but we don't know who the name is. We can recognize the voice, but not the name. So that's something. If anyone can recognize voices very quickly, I bet you the moment they speak on screen, you'll be like, that's them, right? Because there was no, like, modification or anything on it. So that's something there. But let's move on to characters very quickly. For Ethan, we find out a little bit more now that he's kind of moved into the school temporarily until Alaric was meant to wake up and kind of, like, actually enroll him into the school. But we found out Ethan is very superstitious as an athlete. He's temporarily given Landon and Raphael's room, which was previously Stefan Salvatore's room. I really like the fact that they actually name dropped Stefan into it. We also see him not knowing to the extent of his new abilities, because we see him with MG go invisible and then reappear. So we can't tell if it's him actually, like, teleporting from one place to the other, or if it's just him disappearing and then walking and then reappearing again. But we do see him not have complete control over it, because when he was lifting weights and his hands were, like, slowly flickering in and out of being invisible, the moment that it went completely invisible, the weights that he was lifting were going to drop onto him. So that could be something, and then, of course, Finch saves him, but that could be something to the point where it's not just him physically turning invisible to everybody and he's actually still there, but it could be that maybe he, like, turns into a ghost where he's actually not corporeal anymore, not like a physical body anymore, and then that's why things can go through him. So I hope they test what it is exactly he is, because that's gonna be pretty interesting. If, like, he could still technically be in that same place, but, like, be see-through, like you can run your hands through him without it, like, you know what I mean? I hope so. So there's that. With Caleb, though, we find his little side point of the episode was trying to make amends to the school and the students for his actions of siding with Malivore. And he thinks, since they don't want to be around him, who kind of turned into part Malivore monster, he now is set on trying to find Hope and bring her back. But he doesn't know that Hope is the reason why Alaric was put in the hospital, or into a coma. But he went on traveling with Cleo, who does not consider their trip to find Hope as their first date. And they did share their first kiss in the episode. So, yeah, that's something we're going to see a little bit more build. But moving on to Tidbits very quickly, we find out that Dorian is back in Shanghai to visit Emma. Caroline is somewhere in the Congo, still finding a way around the merge for the twins. So there's that. We also see the opening for Josie and Finch being on good terms after their night together, right before Lizzie shouted for Josie with the news about Alark being at the hospital. We see that everyone is under the impression that Landon is dead. We're meant to think that too, since he was actually not present at all in the episode. So there's that. We have Ethan finally realizing that MG is the other guy that Lizzie referred to when they were first talking back in back when he first asked her out. But what was cool thing was that Ethan and MG don't want whatever happens with Lizzie to affect their friendship. So they still want to be super friends and stuff. So hopefully they can keep that. But the fact that they are aware that that could be something that could tear the friendship apart, I'm glad they're fully aware of that. Honestly, I'm not opposed to a three-way relationship where you got both MG and Ethan caring for Lizzie and her caring for the both of them. And it's not like something that would tear them apart. If anything, if like, and then both Ethan and MG respect each other and are friends with each other. It's just like, I'd be open to the poly relationship there if it works, for sure. I mean, definitely more so when they got that group hug at the very end between the three of them. So, yeah. Just saying. We also see Ethan and Finch having a moment together where he kind of apologized to how he treated her when she was dating his sister Maya. He even said that in hindsight, like, now I can understand how things were, knowing now that Finch was a werewolf when dating Maya, because he thought very poorly of Finch for how she treated his sister. So that was cool to have that moment between the two of them, and then to kind of clear the air. So that's something. And then we also see Cleo in her opening scene of the episode building a sculpture of the tree, which was connected in her muse idea of how to kill the tribird. I still think it's the white oak tree. I don't think it would be any other tree that would kill the tribird, since the white oak was created was the source of creating the vampires, and it was needed to kill a hybrid. So I don't see why it wouldn't be also connected to. Sorry guys, I had a random voice call interrupt my recording. But yeah, so I was saying, like, I don't see how the white oak wouldn't also be connected to killing a tribird. Maybe you might need another ingredient, kind of like you needed. Wait, did we need 2 ingredients to kill the hybrid, or was it just literally just the white oak? I have no idea, but I think it's the white oak that Cleo was sculpting. But it definitely was a tree of some kind. So that's something there. But let's move on to a most shocking moment of the episode. I will say the fact that the episode made me feel like we were on Alark's deathbed, which I was like, I'm kind of surprised by, considering this was meant to be the original season 4 premiere. It's definitely, like, it definitely gave, like, how much we were focusing and how much of the emotion we were getting. I was just like, are we actually losing Alark? I mean, like, sometimes you get, sometimes you have, I know different people have different mixed emotions about Alark, but what I really like Alark is the fact that he's still our connection to the Vampire Diaries, like an actual original OG character. So I really like having that history be brought on, but I'm really surprised that, like, are they actually going to kill him off? Is like, what's going on? So that's something there. But speaking of that, we'll get back to that in a moment. But top 3 favorite moments. A huge favorite, I would have to say, is just the return of Rebecca Michaelson. What I really like is the fact that we actually got her more than just one scene. And I really like the fact that she was actually more direct in who she was referring to. She name dropped Freya. She actually said Niklaus and Haley, and about the family for Michaelson's Always Forever. How, like, they were really direct in bringing up the history that happened on the original. So I really appreciate that. It was very, and then also her bringing up her deal about the cure and her own dreams of, like, experiencing everything the world had to offer for 1,000 years. But the one thing she couldn't experience was what humans could only experience, which we know is, like, being a mother and growing old and stuff like that. And just really get reminded from Rebecca of, like, all that. And it was just really great to see her take of how to handle a niece without her emotions. And just getting the call back to the fact that she never liked it when Niklaus used the dagger on her, and yet she had to use it on Hope as well. So it was very cool just to see Rebecca back, especially when, like she said before, how much different is vampirism from being a hybrid to being a tribrid? If anything, Rebecca and Cole would be the ones to really understand what Hope is going through right now when it came to being a vampire, now that everything is heightened. So I really like that Rebecca brought on that that perspective from a vampire into it, because Freya can help on a witch level, but she can't help on a vampire level. And while Rebecca and Cole can help on a vampire level, So there's that. Another favorite I did like was just going down Alaric's memories, a trip down memory lane. It was great to see a teenage Hope again in the form of Summer Fontana. It was really great. It was a huge surprise to get her in that Star Wars parody episode last season, so it was really great to see her again. In that moment, we got to see of him trying to help her push through all the bullying that she was getting, and then to see in another flashback with Emma how he didn't even want to have Hope at the school because of her psych evaluation and how she could be dangerous to all of them, and yet Emma was saying that the decision to turn Hope away would haunt them even more than if they tried to help her. And then to have it later on, which I'm going to go into, so it was just great to see that trip out in memory lane and see all the different stages of Alaric as headmaster and the path and journey of what happened. And we learned a little bit more about the twins' life growing up as well, too. But then to go into my third favorite, which was actually Alaric's apology to Lizzie when they finally found him at the hospital version with the memory of the day they were born. But to have his apology and apologizing how he prioritized Hope or being headmaster and how he was just trying to make the world a better place for his daughters, but now that he fears that he's going to be leaving them in a world much worse. And then his dream, what really got me was his apology of how what really changed his decision to allow Hope come to the school was the fact that if he could help raise Hope to be a force of good, then that could be, and to view the students and especially his daughters as her friends and later their family, then that's a huge support system. And then he knew that Hope, who's meant to be very powerful, he knew that she would have his family's back, and then vice versa, that his family would have hers. So just the idea that he dreamed of having all three girls viewing each other as family was something that was oh, that hurts now, because Hope is the one who put him in a coma, right? So it's just really interesting and very emotional to hear all these things, because we've seen it. We've seen some of the neglect that Alaric has done. He's put the greater good over the greater good of his family, or I should say the greater good of all over the greater good of his family. He prioritizes Hope before all of them. But to hear him explain why, and it makes sense why, because to prioritize over Hope is pretty much the good for everybody, because of the fact that if Hope ever turned bad, the world is going to be a lot worse. And we saw a little bit about that today. She was willing to go against her own Aunt Rebecca, who had 1,000 years more of experience and strength over her, and she didn't care. She was unstoppable, really. So it's trying to not have her really be Klaus's daughter, and hopefully be the Haley's daughter with more compassion and such. So it's just very interesting to get the apology. But I'm going to say it leads into one of my peeves of the episode, and that is the fact that Josie wasn't also present for the apology with Alaric, and only Lizzie got to experience that. I really don't get why Josie had to stay beside him at his deathbed and just watch MG and Lizzie going into Alaric's subconscious, when I feel it should have been both twins that were able to have seen their father. Really, I don't get why MG had to go into it. I'd feel it should have been the twins. It should have been an experience between all three Saltzmans, and yeah, that was the only peeve, is that I didn't see why Josie had to stay behind for that. Because it's like they said, Alaric's mind fading or disappearing in the darkness would have happened before it catching up to him physically in the real world, because we also found out that Alaric's body is stable, but they think his mind is gone. They don't know where his subconscious is. It's stuck in the darkness. So, but he's not dead. That's the only thing. They haven't said that he's dead yet. So it's well, what are they going to do, kind of a thing. So the big peeve was the fact that Josie didn't also get that goodbye or apology from her father. So there's that. Let's move on to random questions very quickly. First one being, what do you think of the whole tribe-red bloodline targeting Hope as the next big bad since Malvor is gone? Do you think someone from the three bloodlines is someone we have met already on the Vampire Diaries and or the originals? I'd be pretty cool if that was the case, but we'll wait and see. Or if they're connected to somebody that we've met before. But I am interested. But here's the thing. I have mixed thoughts about this. I want to know what you guys think, though. But for me, I'm interested to learn about who is part of this triad bloodline, this original 3 bloodlines that came from the original witch, vampire, and werewolf that created Malivore. But I'm not interested in seeing another blood purity bloodline storyline like we saw in the season 5 of the originals, which is what resulted in Haley's death because all the hybrids and also Hope as a tribrid were being targeted by the pure vampire species. Like, I don't need to see that again if that's the main purpose of why they're hunting Hope down, and it being the one reason why all 3 species would agree to this one target. Like, I hope not. Like, I don't want it to be something like that. But I am interested to hear more about the history behind these 3 bloodlines. Like, for sure. Like, how do you have a vampire... Like I get it with, like, the witch and the werewolf because, like, they would have children and that would be continuing the bloodline. But how do you continue the bloodline of the vampire? You would assume that the original vampire is just the one original vampire, you know? Unless it's, like, they all stem from... Like as we know for the Vampire Diaries, all the vampires left are either from Rebecca's bloodline or they're still from Klaus's bloodline, since they severed his connection to the rest of his sirelings before he died later on. So, if anything, one of those vampires is connected to the tribrid hybrid situation. So it's like, what's going on? So I'm interested to learn about that. But my last question is, what do you think it will take to get Hope to turn her humanity back on? Like, what kind of moment will it take? A part of me is wondering, would Landon returning from the dead be what turns her humanity back on? A part of me wants to say yes, but a part of me wants to say I hope it's not that, because then it's like her humanity is literally tied to this one boy, which I don't think should be the case. But, like, with Hope now, that with her being a tribrid, she feels everything more intensely now, so I guess I can understand that. But I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about that. But moving on to predictions very quickly, based off the promo for 406, it looks like Alaric remains in a coma, where Lizzie wants to focus on trying to find a way to get him back, while Josie worries about Hope, which causes a huge tension between the twins. We see MG actually confronting Hope, and it looks like Hope holds a body in her hands during this confrontation. I have no idea, but I'm wondering how long we're going to get no humanity Hope. Because, like, right now it's looking like she is fierce. Or maybe she's going to go on her own mission to try to find the triad bloodline that's trying to kill her. You know? So, there's that. Also, that's something I don't understand. But, like, we'll be back. We may continue with that. But synopsis for the episode reads, Josie and Lizzie search for answers, which leads Lizzie to uncover a dangerous plan. Cleo works on tracking down Hope, who does not want to be found. Hope pays a visit to a familiar face. Meanwhile, Landon gets some clarity and a surprise visitor. Alaric, MG, Caleb, Jed, and Ethan also star. So we're going to see Landon again, so that's going to be interesting. And what's the surprise visitor? And Hope seeing a familiar face. In the promo, it kind of looked like she was back in New Orleans. So I don't know, maybe that's going to be a familiar face, but I'm very excited to see who these 2 new visitors are going to be that we're going to be seeing, that are meant to be surprise and familiar. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But yeah, in regards to... I have no idea now. I don't even know what I was going to say before I reading the synopsis, but wow. But yeah, what do you guys think about this episode? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, theories, opinions about all that good stuff. All that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff. All found in one place. Go check that out. Now that my short film is done, I should probably go back to, like, updating Tumblr. Now that a lot of things have happened so far in the season, so I'll get right into that. Also, WordPress account link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. It's a little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress as well. So there is that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I know I did a little bit of warning about this video being late. I didn't expect it to be as late of it as can be, but I didn't have access before today to the episode. So there's that. Hopefully you guys get this before before 406 airs this Thursday. So until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you a great day, great week, wherever you are. Please stay safe, and have a great day or night, wherever you are. Bye for now.